for this project, you are going to need some air dry clay, which I'm still using that same box I've had from Hobby Lobby, and a vase from Dollar Tree. Preferably this shape if you can find it. It's called a pot belly vase. What we're going to do is transform this guy into a cute little pitcher. So I started off with just taking a handful of clay out of the box. I pinched off a small portion from that piece of clay and I just put it on the top of the vase. This is going to be the little area where the water would flow out of the pitcher. That little point, I don't really know what it's called. So I shaped it into like a triangle piece, made sure it was smooth and not pointy, and then I flipped it on its side. I smoothed out the bottom side so that it blended seamlessly with the vase. Then I took a pair of scissors and I carved out the inside of the top so it had like a little, I guess, hollow area where it looked more like a pitcher, I guess, and not just this thing attached to the vase. Then I took some more clay out of the clay that I had out. I rolled it out into just a long piece of clay, a little hot dog. Then I took this piece and I formed it into a handle, which was so simple. I just curved it and pushed one part of it into the top and the other part into the middle of the vase. This created the handle. I took some more clay to smooth out any areas that needed to be smoothed, and then I actually took this thing off of the vase to let it dry, and I glued it on once it was dry. Alright, so the pieces have fully cured and dried overnight. They're ready to go. They're hard as a rock. Some pieces broke off like I imagined they would, but that's okay. We have this woodworking glue, which works really well, and I combine it with this self-fix-all adhesive. So what I like to do, put this on first, kind of just all over like this. Then I take the super glue, and this creates a really strong bond when I put these together. Alright, and then I just find my little area here and I pop it on. And I just do the exact same thing with the handle, putting that wood glue on first, then the super glue on after because it's a bit more tacky. It'll stick to the glass. Alright. Then I had this little piece that fell off. So I'm just going to stick a little bit of glue right here. I'm going to do that on that. Then on this, I'm actually going to put this glue and then just push it up in there. And then I'm going to let this dry and then we'll move on to the next step. I'm going to show you how I'm going to create like a faux cement texture onto this cute little pitcher that we are making here with Dollar Tree product. So you're going to need a little glass jar of some sort, and I put a little bit of water in there. Usually you start with the powder first, but I didn't want to get up to get more water. So here is the powder I'm using. I think this was like $6 at my local hardware store. This is Duraham's Rock Hard Water Putty. Basically you just take the powder and mix it with water and it makes putty. Now this is supposed to turn into like a hard putty. I just take my spoon and crack this open, and that's what it looks like inside. It's just a powder. And then I'm going to mix it with the water. And I do, let's see, you really want a lot of powder versus water. So that's up to 4 scoops. And you can start mixing it in here and see what the consistency is. This is way too runny. We want it to literally be like putty. So I'm going to add in more. And you want to work pretty fast with this product. It starts to harden pretty fast, but it does take a full like 24 hours to dry. So again, you're just mixing to get a putty. This is way too runny. Another spoonful in. Fun, stirring it. And it's okay if there's chunks. Okay, that's really good. See how it's sticking? Okay, so this is pretty good. Like, we can work with this. I can show you real quick on the back. This is like the uses for the product. It repairs furniture, so you could literally like repair a huge dent or something that maybe your cat scratched up, which I plan on using this for that project. I'll get to that in another video. You can use it to patch up plaster, so plaster that you put up on your wall. You can also use this to fill knot holes in wood. So if there's holes or something that you need to fill, basically any hole or crack, this will fill it in and it will harden. I actually used this product when I did my home makeover, and I had in my kitchen, I had those old panels that were like from the 80s or whatever, late 70s, early 80s, those paneling. I filled in all those cracks on my cupboards and in the hallways and the bathroom with this product. So I went down every line, gave it a sand, and then filled it in more. Last thing you can do, mold strong figurines. And that's pretty much what we're doing. We're making a figurine. It sticks and it stays put and it will not shrink. Alright, so just take the spoon and just get the product all over the glassware and the clay. Smear it around with your fingers. Okay, so once it's on here, we're going to go back through with a brush to smooth this out. I'm trying to get a lot of the excess off just because there is a lot on here. Again, we're doing a thin layer. You don't want this too thick or it will just crack and break off. I'm just taking some extra paper towel here and my little crafting sponge, and I'm gonna like wipe away, like just smooth it out, and I'm gonna lightly do it. You can see it's already hardening a little bit, which is no big deal. We'll just lightly do it. You don't want to take the product off, so I don't recommend like doing a lot of force. You still want a little bit of shape, irregular shape to your project to give it the cement texture. So you can always leave like little holes or something, like if you sponge it like this, that's going to leave a really good texture. But we are going to do that probably at the end once I get a lot of these little ridges and stuff kind of out, because I don't want a bunch of lines everywhere. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop messing with it and let it fully dry. Here is our little picture. It's looking really good. I love these little like dips that the wood hardener stuff kind of created. I don't like these little like lines from the brush stroke. So I am gonna go over those with just a little bit of a different texture. So now I'm actually just gonna go ahead and start painting this. Once I put the paint on, the texture that I'm using is that baking soda method with the paint. It'll actually disguise those lines, so I'm not worried about it. And I'm not going to be using like a full-on thing of the baking soda. I just want a little bit in there for a little bit of added texture. That was too much water, let's be real. It's like I'm finger painting. I'm just trying to get it off my hand. I'm not going to waste any product. I do want to know this product will reactivate when it's wet. So you want to get a thin coat on of this and then move on. Like you don't want to sit here rubbing it and stuff because it'll start chipping and falling off of the vase. Because it kind of reactivates this powder and it starts to like turn to a putty again. But you can see all these like bubbles that are starting to form. Oops. So that's going to create some really nice texture. Our one layer of the baking soda paint has dried. It's created these really awesome bubbles you can see right here. We're going to go ahead, mix up another color, a mix of this tan with this gray. Cafe au Lot. And this one is called Rainy Day Gray. And they're by the same Anita's all-purpose acrylic. I got these for $1 at Hobby Lobby. I'm gonna steer it away from so much blue, I guess. Take a little bit of the blue out. Give it this neutral color. This looks like a really good color for concrete. My vessel has dried. I wanted to go ahead and kind of rough this up a bit more. So I'm gonna add in some colors. I'm going to be using this sponge, and we're just going to mix in a bunch of different colors. So I'm just gonna go like in random areas with this black, because ultimately we don't want this color. This is just to add more dimension back into the piece. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry. So I'm gonna be mixing those colors up again to that really pretty gray color to go back over this. So we're gonna try to like fully coat this, but you can still see that dimension with the colors we added. I just mixed in this color with it a little bit, and I think that just makes a lighter version of that, and I think that looks a little bit better. But I'm trying to like just really slowly get the color on, and this is gonna be very random, just kind of wherever I want to put a little bit of a highlight. All right, so that's what it's looking like. I'm gonna go ahead and let this dry. First off, I want to mention I had this little cute Dollar Tree vase. With the leftover paint, I painted the vase. This was green. I think you guys might remember it in a haul video, but I think it turned out so good. I love the way it looks. It looks like concrete. Like the color's on point. Love the vase. So anyways, this is how it's turned out. I did 2 coats of this, kind of just draping it very lightly over the whole piece. So that way you could still see the dimension in here. The last thing I'm gonna do, and then you can either seal it or just leave it. I am gonna be taking some of this coffee, and we're gonna be rubbing the coffee grounds into the little cracks and crevices. And I'm gonna lightly do it just because I don't want the coffee grounds to ruin my paint job and chip off anything. And then I'll just take this and wipe off the excess. And it's just gonna create just that added little warmth that the concrete needs, so it looks like it was sitting out in the dirt. Totally preference on this part. I went ahead and finished the coffee ground situation off camera. I just did it like lightly everywhere just to give a little bit of a dirty effect, and then wiped it off. I think this looks more like concrete than this, but this is supposed to be like an aged concrete look. So I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out. I can just put some flowers in here, and it is glass in the inside still. So I could add water in there, but I want to be careful not to get the water on the edge right in here, because then that will start to peel off. I'm going to go ahead and put fake ones in it and show you guys how it turned out. Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope you give it a try. Let me know if you do.